Thank you, Board, for allowing me to present this perspective on why BYOD should be implemented in success accounting. I'm in Brisbane, so we'll be giving this presentation by net meeting. This will be a short presentation as requested, and I'm happy to take questions either as I go through the slides or at the end. This is my presentation today. Firstly, BYOD is a mature technology. It enables our workers to use at work the same devices with which they are so familiar at home. This will make us money, and it's doable. This is not something that has potential or is a groundbreaking development. This simply works. A financial analysis will show how we will make money. We will then look at how to implement BYOD and tailor it to best suit our firm. We have carried this through from a concept study, through pre-feasibility, and these costings are based on the analysis from the recently completed feasibility study results. Finally, we will discuss the recommendations. What am I asking for? The purpose of this presentation is to make you fully aware of the advantages, risks, and costs of implementing BYOD. 3 of our major clients, 1 in the mining sector, 1 in the chemicals sector, and 1 in the management sector, have successfully implemented BYOD. It works. I know this because I have spent time in their offices and spoken with their CIOs and the people using this equipment, and we can make it work too. So the objective of this presentation is to obtain your approval for implementation of BYOD throughout success accounting. BYOD, or bring your own device, refers to employees bringing their own devices into the workplace for work purposes through connectivity on the corporate network. Devices they may use or bring include laptops, notebooks, Android phones, iPhones, iPads, tablets, and mobiles. There has been a huge acceleration of companies using BYOD. Accounting is leading the race, as you can see from this research by Good Technology, a leader in technology sales of security products for tablets and phones. The strongest trend here is in the finance sectors. Other companies that I've spoken with who have implemented this system have found increases in productivity, increased employer job satisfaction, and lower staff turnover. The increase in productivity is due to staff working outside of regular office hours, staff being able to respond and deal with issues when they are not at their desk, and staff being more productive when they are using their own devices they are comfortable with. There are risks that companies have reported, but there are systematic ways to manage them, and the firms that have done this are reaping substantial benefits. So let's look at the issues associated with implementing BYOD. This analysis, based on extensive discussions with companies that have implemented BYOD, clearly outlines the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Let's look at the strengths first. Success accounting will achieve increased productivity through staff being able to produce work outside of set hours or at home. They can deal with things when they are not at their desk. We will become a more mobile firm. Staff, whether travelling or off-site, still have full access to company systems. You save money. Desktop computers, company phones are a thing of the past, and they cost firms money. We will look at this more closely in the cash flow projections shortly. Staff morale will be improved because they will be more comfortable and familiar with the systems they are using. This will increase staff retention and reduce training costs, and will become a more flexible and attractive employer. There are, however, also weaknesses. There will initially be a gap in experience and knowledge with staff and their ability to transition to BYOD. The more tech-savvy will be able to transition more quickly. This will suit a certain number of staff, as they will now have what they want to be using at their fingertips. However, other employees will require retraining. Thirdly, there's an initial infrastructure investment required to get BYOD up and running. IT systems will drive this organisation and BYOD. Our systems have to be and will be good. This will cost us money, and I'll cover this in the financial analysis. There will be difficulty covering 100% of devices, but 98% of devices will be okay. The opportunities are compelling. I will show you the cost savings in the next slide. Hot desking is a further vision we can move towards in the future, and BYOD will facilitate this transfer. This will result in a considerable saving to our office costs. Hot desking involves multiple employees using a single physical workstation or desk during different time periods. Finally, as I've discussed, it will increase our attractiveness as an employer. There is one significant threat that we do have to address. However, this is not an issue in isolation for BYOD. As success accounting moves increasingly to the cloud, which we are doing on cost grounds, we are going to have to upgrade our system's security. I'm proposing that if we implement BYOD, then we incorporate the necessary security measures into our existing program of security upgrades. So how would we implement BYOD and what would be best practice management? Let's talk first about our company network, which we will tailor with our IT developers working with consultants. A key point is that this allows us to integrate our staff onto a network which is safe from hackers and minimizes the security risk to our firm. It will allow us to create buffers that limit, audit, and control employee access to corporate data and applications. Moving lockdown and lockout controls from the desktop and laptop into the network layer makes it possible to permit any device to connect securely. We will need increased bandwidth and usage capacity inside our offices. This will enable all of the mobile devices to function quickly and enable it to cope with increased usage. As with any concept our firm takes on board, it is faced with certain risks. Through best practice management, these will be alleviated. Risks will be managed with a strict security policy. Staff contracts will include standards that will prevent leakage of information from devices belonging to employees who are leaving. These standards and procedures will also address loss of devices, data encryption, and the retrieval of data. Staff will be able to run their apps and programs, but usage at work will be restricted so that personal high bandwidth use is restricted. If there are things they wish to run or install on their devices, a quick liaise with one of our IT department will ensure any potential risks are averted. Also, standard policies on acceptable use will apply at all times at the workplace. Devices? What does this mean? This is a key issue which I have researched extensively. First, all Android and Apple tablets and phones will be supported. Second, Windows and Macintosh computers and laptops will be supported. Most accounting software runs on Windows, but this is not a problem as highly functional emulation software enables their running on Apple systems. So let's look at the financial analysis. First we did a cash flow analysis, and this slide shows the results. I'm happy to come back to this if anybody has questions, but now let's look at what it means. Implementation requires an investment of $16 million for policy development and maintenance through our IT department and software acquisition. However, our payback period is only 3 years, and this project has an internal rate of return of more than 28%. The NPV5 is $14.55 million, and the profitability index is 1.91. This is compelling. The obvious question is how sensitive this analysis is to the key input variables. All variables were analysed, and these three are the most critical. We are looking at a 20% increase and decrease in the three most sensitive variables here. These are the ones which are most likely, if any, to change. Improved productivity's effect on the payback period and NPV is minimal. This is the same as policy development and maintenance, and also has a small effect on the payback period and IRR. I've included a non-implementation of hot desking on the third graph. This is the sensitivity if we decide not to implement hot desking, which you can also see has a small effect overall. The last graph shows the combined three variables in a worst and best case scenario sensitivity analysis. The key point here is that the business case is robust, even under the worst case scenario, If all of the variables went in the wrong direction, the net result is only a change from 3.23 years to 3.92 years in payback period, and a change from 1.91 to 1.2 profitability index, which is unlikely. We have looked at what BYOD is, how companies are already using this tested practice, and why it can work for us. Then we have identified the strengths and weaknesses of this concept and looked how we can successfully implement this through best practice management. We have seen through cash flow analysis that BYOD will increase success accounting's profitability. And finally, sensitivity analysis has shown how variations in input variables will not significantly impact profitability. In light of this, I recommend to the board that we approve immediate implementation of BYOD in success accounting. Are there any questions?